What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Razer MiniMadness tournament. And this is the quarterfinals. This is an 8-man bracket featuring 6 of the top Asian teams, or featuring 8 of the top Asian teams in the Dota 2 scene. As oops, I accidentally fast forwarded and unpaused before I could get the whole introduction. So, Shredkid, if you could meet me up at 103 before you start the pause again, because I accidentally messed up right there when I was going in the introduction fields. I have itchy trigger finger, so 103 in the replay timer.
Okay.
But yep, we have DK on the Rain side versus EHOME, probably the most stacked quarterfinals bracket. Although the recent records do not seem to indicate that. DK has actually been 5-5, and EHOME has been 6-4. So both teams performing rather mediocre before the build-up before the international too. I don't know if it's just a ploy or if they are really just not performing very well. But hopefully these teams will step it up for a great series.
Oh, absolutely. And it looks like that we'll have a good amount of time for them to boot camp really hard and get into the top shape before the international. And what better time to do this than in this very small tournament, which doesn't really mean a lot, but should be great practice. So, you ready to go, B-Ballin'?
I am indeed. So 103. So ready to unpause?
Yep.
3, 2, 1, go. So of course, like I said earlier, EHOME 6-4. Not really all the matches have been played recently. Unfortunately, the Gosu Gamers ranking go back pretty far, and they don't feature every single match, but both teams still playing Dota 1 consistently. I don't know if EHOME is as much, but DK definitely is. But EHOME opens up the Rubik ban, meanwhile DK responds with the Broodmother, and just interestingly, something to note is that Puppy complained that Rubik is just too overpowered in this current metagame from an interview on GosuGamers.net that he did. What do you think about that?
I think you got to take everything Puppy says with a grain of salt. He'll say some things that are very, very absolute and have a grain of truth to them. But when he says something is overpowered, he might just mean it's really good and I'm sick of dealing with it this week. Either way, you can't deny that Rubik is incredibly strong right now, both as a support hero and a solo mid. We see a Lycanthrope ban coming out along with a Naga Siren ban coming out, so we get that split push carry and we have the teamfight carry. Both bans are fairly standard.
Yeah, yes indeed. So maybe we'll see some respect bans coming out. Of course, Burning's Anti-Mage, Burning's Lone Druid, Burning any hard carry.
Everything.
Burning's everything.
Every carry in the game, unfortunately.
True enough. But maybe we'll see some jungling heroes banned because the Chinese don't like to really face those jungle problems. So if we'll see if DK or EHOME decides to ban out the junglers, Chen or Enchantress, or maybe DK will just let EHOME ban one and take out one of the others with the first pick. What do you think they should do?
I think right now DK's thinking about DK's probably going to try to first pick whichever one's left over, simply because these Chinese teams love these junglers so much. And EHOME says, okay, if we can't get both of them, we're just going to ban one. And that's surprising. They go with the Nature's Prophet instead of Chen or Enchantress. And EHOME doesn't either. Wow. So what do you think about this?
Oh man, Lone Druid and Tinker. Tinker, of course, a very, very strong team. It's been very, very odd seeing the transition that Tinkers have had. This is why Dota is so excellent. It's just because, you know, there's a standard way to play Tinker for so many years, and bam, Marching Machines, Bulba introduces us to the power of Marching Machines. And even though it got slightly nerfed, it's still ridiculously powerful. So Tinker, there's just so many ways to play each and every Dota hero, and that's why people just keep coming back to it. But these two heroes, very, very strong opening pickups. You have some strong split push, and you have some strong tanky carry with the Lone Druid. And of course, you have that global presence with the Tinker ganking, getting that farm, pressuring supports. But both these heroes need a decent amount of time to build up and a decent amount of time to farm, as you see a Morphling and Chen response pick, so a little bit of counter to that mobility, and of course some early game presence with the Chen coming out of jungle, as you see a Venomancer response pick. So right now I think EHOME, they have a solid lineup, but they can't really pick too many more experience / gold dependent heroes, in my honest opinion.
Well, here's the issue with EHOME's opening, and I think it's actually a fairly weak opening with the Lone Druid Tinker. DK opened Nature's Prophet, which means EHOME really does have to pick up a Tinker because you can't give away both of those heroes. However, when they get the Syllabear and Tinker on the same team, both of those heroes are extremely susceptible to early ganks and even mid-game ganks. If you can shut down either one of these heroes early, it will have a very strong negative impact on the game for your team. And both of those heroes are fairly easy to shut down early. So I think DK can respond with a lot of ganking, maybe some early stunners, early roamers, and just get in Lone Druid and Tinker's face, and it'll be incredibly hard for EHOME to deal with. And that's what the Chen pick is all about. They love their smoke ganks on Chen. If they put Tinker mid, they're just going to smoke gank Tinker over and over mid, really slow down that BOT, make him useless. And if they put Tinker in the safe lane and maybe Lone Druid off lane or Lone Druid mid, I don't know how they're going to lane it yet. They can ban him or gank him as well, and either way, they're gonna fall to ganks if DK chooses to do so, and DK does have the option to get a superior team fight right now.
I really like this Windrunner ban, and this really restricts some of the laning combinations that EHOME could go with, because you don't really want to put dual lane with Lone Druid. You could put him in a multitude of lanes, but most likely you're going to have that Tinker mid, or the Tinker in the safe lane. So if you do that, you're putting the Lone Druid in the off lane, and like you said earlier, Chen with the smoke gank against the off lane here, like Lone Druid who doesn't have a natural escape mechanism, and who is very susceptible to early games when he doesn't get that true form, it's going to be really difficult to deal with, and I also like this Enchanter spend. So I think DK definitely showing a lot of their bans early, right off the bat, but keep in mind this tournament is all about the mind games. You don't want to reveal too much of your information before the International 2, but you also want to get some momentum, and both of these teams are definitely struggling for some momentum. Both of these teams have not looked the sharpest, so I think building momentum and building confidence for your players is really important going into such an important tournament. And right now, EHOME, their lineup, of course, not very stable in terms of lanes, and just have a lot of experience dependency issues, and right now they also don't have any stuns, so it's going to be very difficult to lock down the Morphling or the Nature's Prophet. So maybe we'll see a very mobile hero like a Night Stalker being picked up by EHOME to shut down the Morphling, but then again, you also need a lot of experience for that hero. What do you think?
I was just thinking the same thing. They have no answer for Morphling. They have no way of controlling the space that Morphling can be inside. Venomancer can't do a whole lot. Tinker can't do a lot. Lone Druid can't do a lot. So while they'll be able to push towers and split push and defend towers, they're going to be extremely weak in team fights, especially against that Morphling. I really do think that EHOME needs to pick up some stuns or silences as soon as they can. Otherwise, DK's just going to murder them in every team fight.
10 seconds.
Yeah, and just analyzing sort of the late game, I think DK has, right now, of course, it's only the first 3 picks, so let's not get ahead of ourselves here. But just based on the Chen pick, they have strong early game. Based on the Morphling and Nature's Prophet, you have strong late game. So mid-game, EHOME's going to really have to make it matter, and they really have to win within the first 30 to 35 minutes and have that Lone Druid as farmed as possible. Otherwise, Morphling and Nature's Prophet are just too difficult to deal with. Of course, you do have the Tinker who can counter some of Prophet's split pushing, but just in terms of overall pushing, having that sort of the DPS items in the team fight, there's nothing that you can really beat with the Nature's Prophet, as you see a Tidehunter being picked up, giving them some more team fight, and also a way to counter some of the mid-game presence that EHOME might pick up for themselves. So right now, I'm really liking DK's picks.
I was thinking that EHOME was... This was a while ago, but I was thinking that EHOME was picked into a corner because there were 3 heroes that they needed to watch out for. Invoker, Pandas, and Tidehunter, all of which are huge, huge team fighters which DK could utilize. And they could only ban 2 of them. And I thought that DK might pick up the 3rd one, and it looks like they did. I don't know how EHOME can respond to this. At this point, I think EHOME is thoroughly outpicked, and they have no way of coming back, at least in the picking phase. They'll have to resort to outplaying them, but with the team fight from Tidehunter, along with Morphling's damage and the fact that he's going to be impossible to kill, I don't know what EHOME can do at this point to try to even these picks out. Maybe they'll come up with something, but right now, I don't see it.
Yeah, and of course, Tidehunter, insanely difficult to bring down, and when you don't pick up the laser build, when you go for Tinker, you don't have much burst damage, so of course, most of your damage is coming from damage over time, constant right clicks, and you won't be able to burst down that Tidehunter, so maybe EHOME will go for a bit more burst damage to reduce some of that impact for Nature's Prophet, Morphling, and Tidehunter in these team fights, but they also have to keep in mind, we need stuns, guys. We don't have any stuns. How are we going to catch this Morphling? How are we going to catch this Nature's Prophet? And we do see a Night Stalker, and that's a pretty solid pickup overall.
Sorry, you've been cutting in and out of my my Skype ball, and I think I might have talked over you once or twice, but the Night Stalker makes a lot of sense, both in terms of the silence on the Tidehunter and then just ignore him so it doesn't get dispelled, and for chasing down the Morphling. But we see EHOME's strategy is becoming apparent. They need to win in the early game, and they need to win fast. That's what the Night Stalker pick suggests. They're not going to be able to handle the Morphling late game, so they have the tower pushers. They finally have at least a way to control Morphling, if not the best. I think they need one more ganker, and that's the best that they can do out of this draft.
Yeah, now, you've been coming in loud and clear, so I guess it's just a little bit of issue on my end, but fortunately, I'm the one recording, so it's all good. Yeah, I guess it won't really matter too much if you cut it in and out. It's just fine, so I come and cut it in and out. Not to say that you're not important, you're immensely important. I hope that makes you feel better. Hopefully
anyway,
that make a little bit of flush your face.
Looks like DK's got just a little bit of time left, and they go for Storm Spirit. Okay. Here's what the deal with this is. Storm Spirit is such a good counter to Tinker, in that if Tinker TP's into a lane, Storm Spirit can TP to the back of it, and just jump on Tinker and kill him. A lot of times, Storm Spirits like to open Silence Stick against the Tinker, but I think against the Night Stalker, and because it's a Chinese team, will probably open BKB into the Silence Stick. And you might think, oh, why pick up Storm Spirit when there's a Night Stalker on the field? You'll just get silenced and then killed. Well, they don't really have a way to kill him when he's silenced. Tinker can't do a lot with the March build. Lone Druid can't do anything. Venomancer doesn't really deal any damage. I think the Storm Spirit's a really great pickup. He's also good at killing the Lone Druid and really just dealing with these split pushing. And then we see a Disruptor as a pick. This makes a lot of sense. He's great at countering the Furion when he TP's in. If Morph waves on your team, Disruptor can send him back. And of course, if Storm zips in from 1,000 range away, you just send him back immediately. Anyway, I'm calling this picking phase as heavily in favor of DK. Although EHOME did what they could with what they were given, I think that their opening of Syllabear and Tinker was just fairly weak.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And one thing, I do love Thrall the Disruptor as a hero, or I guess Disruptor just in this game, copyright reasons, he can't be called Thrall anymore, obviously. But I do love Disruptor as a hero, but unfortunately, he doesn't really help you. He's a fairly experienced, dependent support. You want to get a decent level of Static Storm. You really want to get that Glimpse and Thunderstrike maxed up as soon as possible. And of course, you don't get too many levels in Kinetic Field, then Static Storm combination won't be too effective. And right now, Thrall doesn't really give you too much in the way of stuns. In fact, they have no stuns whatsoever in this game. So it's going to be pretty difficult to stop. And of course, like you suggested earlier, Storm in conjunction with that Nature's Prophet will just be able to gank Tinker all over the match. So I think EHOME will have their work cut out for them in this game. So as we take this pause, let's introduce the players and the teams. I'll go over EHOME as we have, looks like EHOME PCT, Perfect Cat playing the Lone Druid Lan playing the Night Stalker. King J is going to be playing the Venomancer. MMY, also known as Dai, also known as X, is going to be playing the Tinker. And that leaves QQQ, aka 357, playing the last remaining hero, which I guess is the Disruptor. So I want to go over DK.
Okay, on the Drafter and the Hard Farmer, we have Burning playing his signature Morphling, a force to be reckoned with. We have Zippo on his Tidehunter. We have Long DD playing the Nature's Prophet, Super on that solo mid Storm Spirit, and ROTK on the Chen.
Yeah, and right now you can see that no items being picked up. Of course, it just paused in the game, so I don't really know how I was going at that point. But unfortunately, I think EHOME are going to have a lot of trouble in the early stages game. A lot of trouble. They're really going to have to make the mid-game count. It's going to be a lot of emphasis on the Night Stalker. And of course, the Night Stalker in the early phases of Dota 2, he was part of the Big Four, where you want to get Nature's Prophet, Chen, Night Stalker, or Anti-Mage. But now he's just sort of seen increasingly amounts of irrelevance. He's only sort of picked up as a counter. He hasn't been too successful, and I think that's just because he's becoming more and more difficult to lane with, and he just requires a little bit too much experience, and he doesn't really give you too much late game powerhouse to deal with.
He's a great situational pickup, but he's not the staple first ban first pick that he once was.
Yeah, no doubt about that. As we're going to see the lanes, we're going to have King J followed by QQQ, aka 357, with Night Stalker in the bottom lane. And of course, tri-lane Night Stalker, it's very effective in terms of getting Night Stalker farm. And this tri-lane gives a lot of burst damage, gives Venomancer slow, one of the best slows in the game, if not the best at level 1, in conjunction with that Void to keep people in place. But you can't really stop a teleport. But I guess Zippo and Burning, if ROTK isn't ganking heavily, they're going to be really pressured in this early laning phase. So EHOME doing a nice job right off the bat with these early lanes, at least for the bottom lane in terms of shutting down Burning.
Well,
30 seconds to battle.
I'm not actually sure that they'll be able to shut down Burning with this lane. If Chen gets a good creep early in the game, that tri-lane just ends. It's over. What happens is, if Chen gets a Centaur is probably the best, but a Wilkin can also force him from lane, although it can't kill them. Once you get one kill on this tri-lane, and really Disruptor doesn't do a whole lot for the tri-lane, and they haven't even got enough killing power with these three heroes lined up. If DK lands a kill on the tri-lane, then the lane is over, and DK wins it. But if EHOME gets a kill, it doesn't really matter because DK can come back from it. It's all about the Chen in the forest.
Really, even though there's a couple of range heroes and Tidehunter can't do as much in terms of harass, and Chen will be in the jungle a lot of the time, you really feel like the lane will just be decided just on a gank from Chen?
If Chen gets a good gank, the lane ends, yeah. Because if you have a 3 versus 2.5 situation with someone in the jungle and the 2.5 gets a kill, the EXP advantage usually becomes insurmountable. Especially with a Morphling who isn't going to be able to die or be killed anyway. I think that the lane will end if they do. Anyway, what I'm interested in, aside from the bottom lane, is the matchup mid. Super versus Dai on Tinker are two of the best solo mids in the world. Definitely two of the best mids in China. And Dai was the first hero who popularized Tinker, so I'm really excited to see how this lane plays out.
Of course, Dai, really known for his Tinker, not just in terms of just gobbling all over the place and just teleporting, ganking people, but also using Tinker in a babysitting capacity, just babysit sort of the Lone Druid when he picks up both Boots of Travel, send rockets that way. We'll see what build he decides to go for. He does go for the laser rocket build, so not going for that March Machine, So this places a bit more emphasis on early game harassing with that global spell and just being a really, really big nuisance, but it's not going to give you too much in terms of pushing. It won't be really too good in terms of being defensive. So what do you think of this Tinker build over the March Machine build that we see so often these days?
We don't actually know if he's doing the March of the Machine build or not. A lot of times Tinkers like to get laser at level 1 no matter what, whether they're doing the Machine build or not. And then they get the rockets in 2 and 3, and then they get machines. We're not... He may be doing machines, he may not be, is what I'm trying to say. We don't know yet.
That could definitely be the case. On the top lane, Lone Druid should have a relatively decent time. Furon can actually do reasonably well against Bear, just sending his treants to harass, but Lone Druid should be in known danger of dying in this lane, and PCT should get relative free farm. Meanwhile, Burning getting harassed a little bit, but right now this Trine not gonna be too effective in terms of locking down his morphing unless Disruptor gets a lot of early points into Glimpse, and right now he's only level 1. He's roaming to check out the rune, picks up the illusion rune just to deny it from the mid soul and also from the Chen. But it looks like Chen has picked up a troll neck creep, so that could be pretty good in terms of locking down a hero.
That troll neck creep is exactly what they're looking for. Unfortunately, don't think that they have a high enough level yet. They're going to need level 3 on both the Tidehunter and the Morphling before they can try to use it for a kill.
Yep, and looks like laser being casted by MMY. He's picked up 2 points in laser, so...
Yep, it is going to be a laser build. You were right.
I'm a Tinker scrub, so treat what I say about Tinker with a grain of salt, but I think just the Chinese playstyle is just keeping everybody safe, having enough counter ganking with the laser rocky build is just really, really useful. But, March Machine, definitely very powerful in appropriate situations, but it'll be really interesting to see how X decides to utilize rockets and laser in this capacity. Will he babysit? Will he just go on a ganking spree? It's going to be difficult to tell, but right now Super is doing relatively well, as it looks like X has picked up 1 level into March Machines.
Okay, this is weird. Super's leveling Remnant over Vortex. I'm not entirely sure why he's doing this. It's extremely rare that you see this. I think we're going to have to see what happens, because he's obviously got a plan for this. So look for him to use Remnants in weird ways or use it frequently. I don't know, but keep an eye on that.
I definitely will, as just checking out the early last hits, as both these lanes are very, very passive. Looks like Londra doing a solid job, and Tinker, so right now EHOME doing a relatively good job. Of course, they have pretty much stronger mid and top lanes, as we're going to see Nature's Prophet teleport back in, with harassed all the way back, as he's going to summon some trees, but already going to get immediately entangled, so we'll see if he goes down. Long DD taking a lot of damage. One more entangle will mean the death of him, but he should be able to scurry away from that bear in the nick of time. A couple more hits by EHOME PCT, but unfortunately for Nature's Prophet, he just used teleport. It's going to be on cooldown for a while, so he'll just have to tangle up. So he's going to do some harassment on that bear, but it looks like we're going to see that smoke gang come in, and it looks like Tinker might be in for a world of hurt.
Well, Chen hasn't got a great creep, but with 3 people on the Tinker, it's going to be hard for him to live. We'll see if he's got the map awareness to stay away from it, or if he just gets picked off.
I think not.
Well, it looks like level 2 of the pull. Here comes a gush. Let's see if Satyr Hellcaller manages to catch that shockwave. It does, and looks like MMY is going to be first blood. ROTK, the Chen player, does pick it up, as here comes Swallow Disruptor, picked up that connect field. Unfortunately, ROTK just able to scurry out of that in the nick of time. One of the downfalls of Disruptor, without glimpse and without a massive team fight holding people in place, and without any stuns for that part, it's going to be difficult to lock people in place with that connect field. So nice gank up on MMY, and that's one of the big points. Tinker has to do really, really well in the early game, and like you said, Tinker, one of those heroes, along with Lone Druid, who's pretty easy to gank, especially with the Chen.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what you said there, but I think I figured out why Storm leveled the 2 in Remnant and before getting the 2 in the stun. When you're laning against a Tinker who's going for a laser build, you don't want to get close to the creeps, and if you get the 1 more point in Remnant, you can use it to farm a little bit better with taking just a little bit less harass. And Super was losing the lane, so because of that, he was able to, for the most part, get a little bit better CS without getting harassed quite as much.
Meanwhile, just checking out Lan's farm, as he has 20 and 6 Morphling on the other hand, only has 7 CS, so they're doing a nice job in terms of shutting on burning. Unfortunately, I don't think ROTK has had the appropriate creep. We'll see if he decides to convert a Furbog, or an Ursa Warrior in this case, and just decide to slow in, but it looks like they're just leaving Burning to farm up whatever he can, try to get as much experience as possible. And Lan might be a bit of a factor in the first night, and he's really going to have to make it count, especially in conjunction. If Tinker gets a boost of travel, in conjunction with that Night Stalker, it'll be really difficult. And looks like Long DD with the help of the Entangle. Furin actually teleported back, but I don't think he teleported to the fountain, as Entangle, just the last bit of damage over time, managed to kill him. Really unfortunate for Long DD. But still, EHOME getting a nice kill and getting Lone Druid farm is definitely what they want to do. Already level 6, gonna have a nice time in terms of farming up.
Well, speaking of high levels, Chen's almost level 6 himself. He's just been power leveling in the jungle. He didn't really have too many kill opportunities, so hey, he's just been smacking creeps, getting levels. So this is a good way to approach Chen if you haven't really got the good creeps for kill opportunities. And the global heal is going to be great for trying to slow down Night Stalker in the first nighttime.
And looks like Wrath of Nature being casted. Here comes Super up on the top lane. They're trying to go for PCT. PCT morphed to the true form way in advance. Definitely had a nice map awareness. Looks like they're going to try to kill the bear, do additional damage to that Lone Druid. One more hit by Super. Picks up a kill on PCT. Unfortunate for him, and we'll see if they can mount a push. Tower at relatively healthy HP, and Storm is out of mana, so I think this tower will live for now. But still a nice gank by Super, picking off Lone Druid. Meanwhile, looks like X is farming all the while in the mid lane, 28 and 8 CS. Lone Druid was farming really well, but it is first night. We'll see if Night Stalker can make a huge presence felt in this early stage of the game.
Right now, this game is on Night Stalker. He needs to make something happen, and you always hear that about Night Stalker. Oh, they got to make something happen in the first night, but this game more so than normal because they really don't have the late game to deal with the Morph lane.
Yep, looks like PCT is going to teleport back to the top lane. Bear is just able to respawn. Could see if he can get the deny. No, unfortunate for him. Super does get the last hit. They can't go on him. Super has no mana to work with. But yeah, just looks like Tyrant are going to pick up level 6. I like this play. They know that they won't really get a gank off on Tinker while Storm is out of mana. And while he goes back to Fountain, unless he gets a really, really good rune. So hey, give Tyrant to someone. Let's get that level 6 Ravage. And just if anybody makes initiation on Morphling, if Tyrant can just teleport in with their Ravage, assuming he picks it up pretty soon. So I like this play being performed by DK.
I do too. For the most part, I think it's what they're going to be able to do to control the early game, which is fairly important. We actually just saw a little bit of an engage going on. Looks like they're just going to kill the creep though. No actual hero kills going on. Oh, and Chen gets it or not.
ROTK just like, you wanna mess with me? You're gonna have to not get any of this gold, not get any of this experience. And unfortunately, Lan not doing too much, but still a long way before this first night is over. Super in the middle of everything, has picked up the strength treads. We'll see if he decides to rush that BKB or just go for a Bloodstone or that silence like you suggested earlier. But looks like
there's an engage going on. NS and Venoslow is going on ROTK. Super comes in, trying to deny him. Chen Heal comes out, healing a ton of people. Tinker Rocket's flying, everybody's trapped in the kinetic field. It looks like Chen will be the first to fall, but Morphling comes in and kills the Night Stalker. And we have March of the Machines coming, dealing a ton of damage. Super zips away. He's got just a little bit of mana. Zai's trying to finish him. It looks like Super will get away, and it'll be a 1-for-1 engage.
No, QQQ caught behind enemy lines. Gets killed by a tower and Long DD Nature's Prophet. And we'll see if Morphling goes on the offensive. Troll getting that net off. We'll see if they can kill King J. No, Morphling does not want to risk it. Does not have too many items to work with. But right now, 4-2 in favor of DK, and unfortunately, Night Stalker did die, so that's going to slow down some of his momentum. Still managed to pick up Phase Boots and an Urn, so that's really going to help his map mobility. But still, not dying, he would have had a Magic Wand to boot with that. So, a bit unfortunate for Lan, but still picked up 1 kill. Here comes a Venomous Scale on Morphling. He's just going to wave out, because without a Glimpse, what can you do against Morphling? Nothing.
Nothing.
Really
that
bad.
Chen Heal did so much work, though. Without that Chen Heal, I think that they would have lost at least 2 more people.
Yep, just checking out the early gold graph. Not that it means too much, but still very, very much in favor of Radiant. 2k gold favor in Radiant, but I think the most important thing is just to look at Dai's farm. He has 1400 gold, so still a decent amount away from Boots of Travel. And if he ganks one more time, that will really, really hurt EHOME's chance to win this game. If he dies once more without getting those Boots of Travel, it'll just mean it's going to be really difficult for EHOME to overcome. It has to be essential that he does not die.
Something that DK did to address the Tinker Farm situation was that EHOME supports were stacking the Dire Ancients for him. And then DK warded it, and then EHOME counter-warded it. However, looks like there's a Night Stalker gang coming out.
Oh, he's going on Morphling. He wants Burning, but he's going to get trapped.
Night Stalker gets caught under the tower, and it looks like he just goes too hard into 4 people.
Yeah, of course, the counter gankingness done by Long D. He picked up a minus, so just going to get more and more gold to farm up with. Become even more annoying to deal with, if that was ever possible. Few heroes are as annoying as Nature's Prophet. As Chen has a decent army of creeps, has a couple trolls, get those skeletons to tank some of that tower. You can't really underestimate the usefulness of skeletons against tower pushes in the early game.
Not at all. And if DK can get these early towers up, they'll have so much more room for the Morphling to be able to TP and just run away.
Yep, Tidehunter approaching very menacingly. Still has that Ravage. Looks like Burning managed to get the last hit. Nicely done, but there's going to be a gank on the top lane. Super in conjunction with Lonely D. Managed to get the last hit. Can they get any more stuns? No, they use the pull. Nicely done by PCT, managing to escape, timing the teleport so that the pull will be on cooldown, knowing that Nature's Prophet has no disable, but still preventing Lone Druid from farming out, but he still managed to accrue 1,700 gold. So he's going to get that Radiance by around probably the 20-minute mark if all goes according to plan, but unfortunately
maybe
for EHOME,
a bit later. I think that they're going to be able to start pressuring him really heavily with Storm and Nature's Prophet, but the one thing that we haven't talked about yet is Tinker has finished his BOT.
that's going to be important. Especially in conjunction with that Night Stalker. Still has about 3 or 4 minutes left on that first night. I forget the exact timing. Lewis would never let me hear the end of it if I didn't know the first night. So I think it ends at 15 minutes.
I just look at the graph, dude. I can never say exactly. It's hard to remember with Night Stalker because sometimes they use the ult more than others or skill late, so.
That's definitely the case. Looks like Rocket's going to be sending in to defend against Super. Looks like Tinker went for 2 laser, 2 rocket, or sorry, 2 laser, 1 rocket, then 4 into March, and then is putting back into Rocket. So really unorthodox build by MMY, but we'll see if it works.
The reasoning behind the build was he wanted to get more in laser to keep Super off the creep wave, and then he obviously wanted to max March. And he only had, with the maxing March and the 2 in laser, he only had enough room for 1 in missile. He's probably, I could be wrong, this is Die, he'll do anything he wants, but he's probably going to max missiles after this.
And that looks to be the case, as they still have the Dire Ancients. Of course, that Sentry Ward did prevent them from pulling it for a bit, but they still have 6 golems to work with, but ROT is coming in with a veritable army of creeps. Tidehunter is in position, he does have the Ravage, he has Arcane Boots as well, level 7, so he has 1 point to Gush, 4 points to the Anchor Smash. Long DD, of course, teleport off cooldown, so EHOME might be in a lot of trouble if they choose to take this engagement with the Ravage and the army of Chen creeps. Is Hand of God up? Yes, it is. So EHOME, unfortunately, just turns a day, so my prediction of first night ending at 15 minutes completely wrong. But it is daytime, so EHOME, if they choose this engagement, they're just going to get completely wiped.
Looks like DK is trying to position around, trying to get the full surround on them, but there's a sentry, an observer ward actually, preventing that. So that's a really smart placement on an observer ward, which probably just saved them from team wiping, but I think it looks like EHOME's just going to back up.
And what's really telling at this point in the game is the levels. Looks like levels completely in favor of DK. 2 heroes level 9 or above. Meanwhile, Tinker and Lone Druid level 9, and then Morphling Tide Chen falling at level 7. Meanwhile, Venomancer and Thrall have not even picked up level 6 yet, so they're going to be pretty much useless in these next couple engagements unless they manage to get a magical glimpse, but it's only level 1. No, level 3, my bad. As he's picked up 3 into Glimpse, 1 to Thunderstrike, not maxing Nuke. I like this build a bit more, just because Glimpse cooldown, even at level 4, is quite long, but still, it'll shorten it by a bit, and of course, anything you can do to prevent Super from diving in is just going to be very, very useful.
Yeah, I really like it too. There's so many heroes that you need to glimpse back, and you really are going to have you're going to need a long range on it, otherwise you're just going to get instantly stormed or whatever. So I like the glimpse over Nuke, even though it's really unconventional.
Meanwhile, EHOME making the correct move, in my opinion. Knowing that they're down in terms of towers, they're down in terms of farm, they're down in terms of levels, they really need to get something going their way. Storm just zipping around, trolling it up a little bit, but they could not bring down this tower. Here comes Gush, Hand of God being casted, Ravage catching 3 heroes, Morphling waving in, doing a huge amount of damage. Night Stalker's first one to fall, Night Stalker immediately buys back. Looks like PCT is going to be the next one to fall. Storm picks up a double kill, Night Stalker buys back and teleports in, realizes, oh wait, I can't actually do anything. Super just making his mana works so well. Morphling picks up a double kill, and DK in full control going to be able to pick up this middle tier 1 tower, and it's going to be insanely difficult for EHOME to stop him 10-2, 3 towers ahead, and Chen just proving to be such a nuisance in these engagements, and that's why we see Chen banned so often. Hand of God just doing so much work.
3 major points about that engage. 1, that was a great Hand of God. Tidehunter may have gone down before he had gotten the Ravage off, had RTK not preemptively Hand of Godded just before the rocket hit. It was a great ult, it really was. Second point, Super's mana management was really amazing. He managed to zip in just the right amount so that he would be able to pull the Night Stalker, and this brings me to my third point, and kill him the second time. Night Stalker died, bought back, and died again. that's brutal, especially for an early game hero who's a momentum base.
Oh, no doubt about that. And you can see, as Super teleported back, you saw his treads at in agility for a little bit. So that's what constantly tread switching will do to you, boys and girls. Take these tips from top Chinese players and just top Dota players in general. Of course, we see Europeans tread switching all the time, so it's not just a Chinese thing. Just top professional Dota players constantly switch their treads in order to get the max amount of mana and HP possible. Looks like Marchapin's going to drop. They're going to be able to pick this tower, but it's kind of a Pyrrhic victory, and I don't think DK will defend it. They don't have the ultimate, and they're already satisfied with what they have. Long D just pushing, picks up an early staff with Wizardry and 2.7k gold in the bank. We'll see if he picks up a 4 staff, or May goes for Ags. If he picks up Ags, it'll just be Tinker pretty much going to have to farm up the entire wave. What do you think Nature's Prophet will go for in this situation?
Thinking about it. And, well, yeah, he is going to go for Ags. He just bought the Ogre Club. I might have missed you. You cut out a little bit. But after the Aghanims, I think I get a Hex for the Tinker. Or Night Stalker if you want to go on him. But mainly the Tinker, because Tinker likes to hang out in the back of fights, so you can just TP into the back and then Hex him, and all of a sudden his whole position has completely messed up. And then you can let the Storm and Tidehunter and even Morphling come in on him. So I would get a Hex after the Aghanims.
Don't look at the glow graph, Shred Kid. It might burn your eyes. It's going to be brutal.
I'll take your word for it. I'm not even going to look. I'm guessing it's like 8 to 10k.
It's 10k in favor of DK. It is brutal. And they've only taken... No, they take 4 towers. Super got the last hit on the middle lane tower. So he's going to go a long way. Going to be able to finish that Orchid in about 350 gold. And Super having incredible amounts of mana regen with the ball, with the Orchid, with the Intelligence Treads. Zippo has the Arcane Boots as well. Just bringing up the item screen. Looks like Bernie going to go for the shotgun build, because he knows Thrall is just so low leveled. Venomets are low leveled as well, so they're going to get one shot. Lan died, bought back, died again, no item progression. And PCT, I don't think he's made it on item progression either, just checking out his gold. No, looks like he's going to just completely skip the relic for now. He's went for back to phase boots, knowing that...
That's a good decision. I think he's going to build a mech and pipe, because they're not going to get relic. They need to go for the quick team items that say, hey, if we don't win off these items, we're going to lose anyway, so I think that's a good decision. Also, about items, Tidehunter, I think, is going for a Blink Dagger, which is great in terms of getting in and close with Tinker. And Storm Spirit has finished his Orchid, which, again, is great for killing the Tinker. And basically, every single thing that DK is doing is done with the intention of killing Tinker, because he is the only threat that EHOME is able to put on the table and say, hey, this hero's dangerous, you gotta kill him. So DK says, hey, you know what? We can.
You must feel for X. I know Tinker is your favorite hero.
He is. X is my favorite player, Tinker is my favorite hero, and I just feel so bad for him right now.
It looks like top lane...
He did everything right, but it's just not coming together for him this game.
Yeah, no stuns will do that for you, as the Dire are in danger of losing their tier 3 tower. Glyph is already popped. They can't even kill the bottom tier 1 tower. Morphling double damage, and just going to be able to get that. Gale's going to be casted as Wild King Tornado, just being stunned, being annoying, slowing everything down. God, that is just the most annoying creep. It's a lot more powerful in Dota 2, in Dota 1.
It really is. I don't know why. I don't know if that was an intentional change or just kind of happened and they stuck with it, but
I don't know.
I haven't really heard anybody talk about it, but it really is much better.
Some AoEs just seem like Battle or Firefly AoE seems smaller. Wild King Tornado AoE seems bigger. I don't know, maybe it's just because I hate playing against Wild King and I love playing Bat, but that's what it feels like to me anyway.
It's some very, very small tweaks in Dota 2. Not too much of a big deal, but most teams have adjusted to it. But something that's really important going to the international is that all the European teams and all the NA teams only play Dota 2. And Chinese teams are still playing both, where there are small discrepancies between the games. So I really think that the European teams will have a slight advantage in terms of being more adjusted to Dota 2, perhaps, but we'll see what the boot camping will do for the Chinese teams.
Yeah, they are going to train.
Nobody works harder than they do.
They're going to train hard. I remember Atri telling me a story that EHOME or Tongfu trained, they lost the game and they just watched replays, they skipped lunch, and they wanted to just do so well in the international qualifiers. Probably Tongfu. And they skipped lunch, they skipped meals, they just trained as hard as possible. So these Chinese teams have a lot of motivation, but even this weekend, there's a $42,000 tournament going on in China, and I know for sure DK's invited to that. But let's see.
WCG, right?
Yeah, I think it is, or Ace, or something like that. One of those tournaments.
Okay.
So yeah, that might not be a huge factor, but it is a factor nonetheless. But anyway, back into this game. Gold Graph calming 12k, as it looks like Len's going to be a lot of trouble, gets silenced, going to get Ravage. Ravage only used on, no, 3 heroes as Disruptor and Venomex are caught in the midst of everything. 2 more heroes going to die immediately after. Tinker doing as much as possible. Mechanism and Hand of God just healing it back, everybody up to full HP. Venomex ultimate just going to tick it very, very pathetically at DK's HP. Rocket's doing its best in terms of dissuading the push, and looks like it will be enough. Morphling's just going to farm back, because hey, it's burning. He will just do that, as EHOME is just getting completely crushed at this point. But Bear went for that mechanism like you suggested.
And I'll probably pick up a pipe next if the game gets that far, but we'll see. I don't know. I'm not sure the game's going to get that far. Very heavy advantage for DK right now, but the Tidehunter did go for the dagger, which I like. It's a good way of getting on top of the heroes, and I think the biggest problem for EHOME is that their picks were so conflicted. They had the NS pickup, which is a really aggressive hero, and then they had a Thrall pickup, which is a really defensive pickup against all these mobile heroes. So they did a lot of defensive picking, which isn't a great way to approach picking. But it looks like we're going to have an engage going on. The Bear goes in, doesn't do anything, and no, looks like they're just going to back off.
Man, that Channelusion got it. He got silenced, he got rocketed. He didn't even stand a chance. But yeah, I think like you mentioned earlier, the opening picks up of Lone Druid and Tinker didn't really work out too well. Just giving DK, Chen, and Morphling, and Nature's Prophet. The opening 2 picks do mean a lot, especially when I have those second picks. But it looks like, let's see if EHOME can make... EHOME definitely a very composed team. But in these sorts of games in the Chinese scene, at least in Chinese versus Chinese, once one team gets momentum, it's very difficult to lose them. Long D might be in a little bit of trouble. He's going to get ganked. Here comes the Silence, and he's going to use the Void to slow them down. Here comes the teleport in by MMY. Here comes the Laser Rocket. Can they kill? Long D, no, Glimpse sends him right back, just trolling it up. And it's nicely done by EHOME, getting 1 kill. And if they can do that several more times, Night Stalker is really going to have to make... He's going to have to get like 5 or 6 kills in the second night in order for EHOME to actually get a comeback.
DK needs to play sloppy at this point. It's not like EHOME can... If DK plays well, they're going to stay in it, and they can't get pushed out of it. The only way for EHOME to come back is if they play exceptionally and DK messes up. But I wanted to bring your attention to something. Furion has a Staff of Wizardry, which is weird. It's either probably going to be a Yule's or a Force Staff, but both of those items are kind of more mid-gamey, and we're moving into the late-game stage. So I'm kind of confused about that. What that's going to be. Super Zip Thing goes on QQQ. Hand of God coming out, but he's just going to go down immediately. Wow. That was,
Yeah, that was sloppy. If DK does that several more times, EHOME will have a chance.
That's what needs to happen for EHOME, so...
Yeah, I guess DK want to make it a little bit interesting. But I think that Furion Staff of Wizardry will actually be for a Necro book, just for extra pushing extra auras. But we'll see. We'll see in a second what he decides to go for. I think it'll be a Necro book, just to try to get the more pushing, more auras, and then just really try to go for one big push. Now that Morphling has the E-Blade, now that most of the heroes have the items, now that Tenter has Ravage back up. Once Super responds, I think they will go for the all mid push and really just try to go for the chokehold.
You're right. It's absolutely going to be a Necro book. I completely did a brain fart and forgot about that item. But yeah, it's going to be a Necro book. No item is better at breaking tier 3, which is the only thing they have left to do in this game.
Yeah, they have Furion and they have Tidehunter with the Blink Ravage and Storm Initiation, so they have a lot of avenues for initiation, but not too much in terms of tower damaging, aside from Morphling's right-click, Chen... Well, they have... Alright, scratch that. They have a lot of summons.
Nice,
yeah, they have Chen Creeps and Furion Trees, and they'll have a Necro book, so... Just gonna mutter myself back into silence, realizing how stupid I sound for a bit. But we'll see if DK decides to go for Roshan soon, as EHOME's still having the wards, and we'll see if a gem is picked up to sort of solidify, okay, we're gonna go mid, we're gonna deward everything, we're gonna apply the chokehold, we're gonna get that, we're gonna get the wards all dewarded, gonna go for Roshan, get the Aegis. So no gem being picked up, as EHOME still has a lot of vision, so that's going to protect them for a bit. But unfortunately, they've only managed to pick up 2 kills, not the 5 or 6 that they need to get themselves back in the game. But, you know, every kill will bring them closer and closer.
Yeah, Tinker's really trying to AFK farm for that Hex, I think. Probably a Hex. But it's so hard with the map control that DK has. He's just really... He's staying so far off the creep wave and just using machines. Sometimes he's not even getting EXP from the creep wave, he's just getting the gold. Because it's so scary for him against these super mobile heroes who can just burst him down so fast.
Burning saving.
And yeah, it is going to be Hex, unless he does a weird 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 Lincoln's build, it's almost certainly going to be a Hex.
It's gonna have to be Hex. They have no disables.
Yeah.
Burning saving up 1,800 gold. As looks like DK just gonna team jungle it up. Don't care about experience, just care about having a good old time in this jungle. As here comes the Necro book. We'll see if he decides to go for Necro 2. Did he pick up Necro Shoe, or is that... No. Yeah, it is Necro 2, just right off the bat. So we'll see if he decides to just finish off the Necro 3, but usually you only need Necro 2 before he decides to push in. As looks like DK gonna go for the Roshan. Do they have
It's going to be
gem?
uncontested.
Yeah.
EHOME can't get there in time, and even if they could, they wouldn't want to.
They're smoking up. They're smoking up.
Are they going to go for it? Wow, this is...
I think they realize they don't really have any choice.
I guess they're forced to engage because if Burning gets it, it's just game... Or Super, it's just game over.
Nope, Burning gonna pick it up.
They're just kind of chilling there. Okay.
Yeah, and now DK knows that they smoke because Bear just revealed himself. Venom revealed himself. So, yeah, EHOME clearly at a loss to what they should do at this point, as Tinker's trying to do desperately whatever he can, as he does have the Ultimate Orb, so he's going to try to save up for the Hex as soon as possible. I think Nature's Prophet, he did finish the Necrobook level 3, so now it is time to go for the push. What has Morphling picked up since then? 2,400, so I guess he'll pick up maybe an Ultimate Orb, or maybe even another Eagle Horn, or Eagle Song, and then just go in for the push.
Well, Storm's got his BKB. This is all but over. And I hate to be pessimistic about it, but I don't know what they can do. EHOME can do, that is.
I don't know, I think if they had like a ridiculous teamfight hero, like a Tide Hunter or a lot of stuns, they could focus down heroes one at a time, but they have no stuns. Venerance is too low leveled, they're facing Hand of God Mechanism. Storm is too fat. I really, honestly... You never really want to kill...
Chen also has his Aghanims.
Oh yeah, he uses Hand of God just because he can. Yeah, I guess just to heal his creeps up. But once he picks up Aghanims, then the push will most certainly commence. And honestly, I don't like calling the game early, but this looks all but over. But yeah.
Looks like this is interesting. At least to me, PCT is trying to get a Mjolnir, I believe, on his bear. So I don't think that's going to be power treads. You very rarely see power treads on the bear. So I think that's just to try and get more DPS out, but I don't know if I'll be able to finish it in time.
Yeah, that's one avenue you could go for, getting a lot of attacks, lead more entangles, and getting that chain lightning to help push. No pipe up on the Radiant squad, but looks like Tide Hunter will build into that eventually. But I think they're just waiting for Chen and Morphling to pick up an item, and then they can just go for it. Night Stalker has a hood. Tinker still quite far away from finishing his Hex. It's not going to probably be enough. But DK, they can't wait around too long, otherwise Tinker will finish that Hex. So looks like DK going to try to get a gank off at the least before going into engage. And we'll see if they can pick off the bear. Here comes the silence. Mechanism immediately popped. BKB popped up on Super as well. He's going to zip out. QQQ is going to be the next one to focus. Throw falls in the blink of an eye. Here comes the Tyrant to Ravage, catching 4 heroes. Beautiful Ravage being casted by Zippo. MMI is the next one to fall as Storm Sphere picks up a double kill. And now they're going to go in for the base. But Venom's ultimate doing a lot of work. Mechanism being popped. And Hand of God should be up very, very soon. Yep, in 20 seconds. Just the power of Aghanims Chen. And when Chen gets an Aghanims, then you know it's pretty much done.
Buyback coming out. Tinker. He's doing everything he can to defend one tower, but there's 2 being pushed. 3 actually, so... Wow, you don't often see that. All 3 lanes being pushed, and QQQ calls GG.
Yep, so DK are going to take the fall in this first, or DK going to take the victory in the first game, as we're going to see PCT probably fall once more. Super just zipping back and forth. Here comes the Nature's Prophet, Sprout being casted, as PCT is going to be next one to fall. And I think it pretty much just came down to solidly outpicked. I don't know if EHOME necessarily got completely outplayed.
EHOME wasn't outplayed at all. They played fine. It's just they did the best with what they had.
Yeah, and
predictions for game 2, they're not going to give away Chen. I don't think they'll let him DK have that hero again.
But will they give away Tetris? Ooh, decisions. Ooh. But
that's the big questions.
Yep, big questions in Dota, similar to the big questions in life. As Super just going to clean up, as we're just waiting for the throne to farm, bring up the end game screen before we pause this game. So pretty much it just came down to outpick in both of our opinions, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, they definitely did a lot of focus because they knew the only way they could sort of lose this game is if X got ridiculously far, or if Night Stalker got a ridiculous amount of kills. And you can avoid Night Stalker just by being in position, but if X or MMY got a ridiculous amount of farm, then it would be pretty difficult. But they focused a lot of their attention on countering that Tinker, and they did that splendidly. So nicely done by DK. And we'll see you in game 2. This has been B-Ball and Shredkid. Check out me on YouTube and all that, and check out Shredkid on his stream, twitch.tv/shredded_kid, and we'll be back very, very soon for game 2. Have a fantastic day.